Hi, I'm saxophonist Benny P, and over the last 30 years I've been playing professional horns from Yamaha, Selmer, and Yanagisawa, just to name a few. But over the past decade, there have been some instrument manufacturers releasing some very budget-friendly horns. I know when I first started back in the 1980s, a student horn cost about $700, and these manufacturers today are offering what look to be very similar instruments at half that price. Sound too good to be true, you might think? Well, I thought so too, so I'm going to take the guesswork out for you by putting these to the test and let you decide for yourself. Does it make sax? Alright, so let's get this out, right? So I'm going to go ahead and, it's got a pad saver in it, which is great. These are great. They're inexpensive, but they definitely help keep your pads dry in between playing. Great looking little horn. It's got some hand engraving on it. Like I said, it's pretty good weight, right? I mean, I'm feeling everything. Everything feels nice and tight. All of the springs on this, everything feels good. Sounds like pretty much most of the pads are closing, so that's good. So yeah, feels pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and put this little curved neck on here. Sometimes with these horns you got to watch. They get some material from the coloring in here, and they don't really go in real easy. So I'm just gonna see how this goes. So yep, so it went in all right. Make sure this works. I think you can see that it does open and close. So anytime you're getting a new instrument like this, that's one of the things you definitely got to check out. If you're having troubles with some of the notes or they're warbling or something like that, definitely got to check that these are like not bent or bent out of shape. Also that they're aligned, and that when you're pressing down on the keys, you know, they're moving properly, right? So I'm pushing the third key down with this G key with the octave. There's your octave. So you notice that when you have the octave key with only the first two, 1, 2, that octave key stays open on top, and when you hit the third button, right, this mechanism here will actually close that off and open up a secondary in here. Anyway, those are very first things to check out when you try to play these. If notes don't seem to be coming out or they're warbling when you're moving around, it's often the case of your octave key. All right, it does look cute, doesn't it? It's small, which is great, because when you think about it, something that is small like this, you can take it with you. It's great for practicing, so I like the size of it. All right, so I went ahead and put the mouthpiece reed ligature that came with it already on this. Just gonna play through and see what kind of sounds we get on all original equipment. All right, probably the mouthpiece. Could be me just playing this horn for the first time. All right, just kind of playing through this with all original stuff. The high end, this mouthpiece really is squeaking. I can't seem to control it. Not quite sure what's going on, but as I said, these really inexpensive mouthpieces, right, they do not lend to good playing. So I would definitely recommend getting a better mouthpiece, and we'll try some out and you'll get to hear kind of the differences here. But really seems to want to squeak and squeal when you get up into the upper registers, up above a B or a C. So we'll try that a little bit more, but I will probably most likely go to a little better mouthpiece, and you guys can hear for yourself. Been working on this mouthpiece now for a little bit longer, trying to just feel this horn out. I will say that some of the key positions, especially these pinky key positions here, are they're okay, right? But figuring out where they're at, it's different than other horns. So, but I get that. Every horn is going to be, manufacturer's going to have them in different places, and that's what makes them their own unique designs. But this one, everything seems to be working. So so far, so good, right? I'm impressed with that. I think this might be suffering because of the mouthpiece, right? I think the intonation on this is really quite good all the way through itself. Now, I don't know how in tune it is. I will try to tune it with a piece of music or a tuner here just to see how in tune it is. But so far, it seems pretty good. Now, I put the mouthpiece on about as far as it'll go because to my ear, that seems to be about right. But we'll see here soon. All right, I switched it over here. This is actually one of my favorite mouthpieces. This is a Jody Jazz mouthpiece. It's a number 6 spacing. So we're going to give it a try. I'm using a Hemke 2.5 reed on here and just a Rovner ligature. For just playing around, I think the intonation actually sounds a lot better now that I have a different mouthpiece and reed on here. Some of the upper notes are starting to come into play. Again, it takes time to learn each instrument. So now I'm going to check it out and see if it's in tune or not. All right, I checked out the intonation here. It's been about an hour. I've had to play around with this. To be quite honest with you, this was quite out of tune. Tried to play it with a tuner out. It was quite out of tune. And those of you that aren't real familiar, when you tune a saxophone, it's all about making the instrument longer or shorter, right? From the tip of the reed to the bell, right? And how do you do that? That's why there's cork here behind the neck where the mouthpiece is mounted. So it allows you to be on further or less. So I'll give you an idea. When you pull it way out like this, right, you're actually making the horn longer. By doing that, you actually make the horn more flat, right? It's longer, it's more flat. And then if you need it to be sharper, higher pitch, right, you need to be shorter. So what I found with this instrument a little while ago is I had the mouthpiece all the way in. It still wasn't high enough. I was actually having to use my embouchure on this wide gap mouthpiece to really pinch the reed to bring it up into the right intonation. And I put the old mouthpiece on the original mouthpiece that came on it. Couldn't do it with that, right? It was completely out of pitch. There was no way it would be back into pitch. So I had to make a modification to this horn. I ended up having to actually take some material off the top of the neck on this one. Right, so I actually took it down to a grinder and actually ground this surface down about a quarter of an inch, and which allows the mouthpiece to go on even further. Once I did that, it allowed the mouthpiece to go on further, and now both mouthpieces that I put on here, the instrument is playing perfectly in tune. Not something that I think a new horn player would know how to do, and to be honest with you, these novelty horns like this, probably have a hard time finding somebody who will actually work on them. So if you do know how to do some work yourself, or you have access to someone who has a machine shop or something like that, if that becomes a problem for the instrument that you buy, that's an option. But now that I've had that done, it is playing perfectly in tune. All of the notes seem to be doing quite well. I'm pretty impressed with it, actually. For the size, I didn't have to make any adjustments to any of the keys. So I think this is a winner. So if you're looking for something to play and you want to be able to just get it right out of the box and play it, sure, no problem. You should be able to do that with this. I highly recommend getting a better mouthpiece. You can get mouthpieces anywhere from $30 or $40, which I think like a C-Star would be good, like a 4C, something like that. I put a Selmer on here earlier. It worked quite well. I had a Claude Lakey on here, 5-Star 3. It worked quite well. And then my Jody Jazz, which is my go-to mouthpiece here, which, these range up into the $200 range and higher, depending upon what sounds you want. But I'm not saying you have to spend almost as much for the mouthpiece for the instrument to make it sound good. You don't have to do that. The mouthpiece that came with it works. You'll be able to plug it on and start playing right away. This is a great horn to, I think, learn on. It's a solid horn. I'm really quite happy with the construction on this. All right, I have to take that last statement I said about the construction about this just back a little bit. I did notice that when I was moving this key up and down, I heard some clinking noise, and I didn't know what it was, and it ended up being that this post right here was actually broken from this band. So it was actually moving up and down, and this key was hitting it. So I actually put some JB weld on it and put some pressure on it, and it's held. And now it seems to be just fine. Now, it didn't hinder the playing of the horn. It worked just fine, and I think it could have continued to play just fine. But, you don't want these guards kind of flapping around. And again, if you don't know how to do some of this work, or like I said, it's going to be tough to find a repair person who would actually do any work on these. Typically, I would just send this back and get another one. These manufacturers, they don't put serial numbers on these horns. Like on a professional horn, intermediate horn from larger companies, there's typically serial numbers somewhere on the horn, right? And that's because those manufacturers track those horns. They want to know that they're performing well, and if they're not, they can make them better and make their processes better. It's obvious that this Chinese-made horn, they just make them, they ship them out, and they don't really care. And again, at the price point that this is, I don't think it really matters, because when you can get it from the company at the link I have down below, they'll let you return it at no cost, and they'll replace it if you want to get it replaced. So, and I think there's other options too. You can get them all gold with a black body, a white body. You can get a pink body, whatever, and there's other finishes. So whatever your tastes are, there's a bunch of different colors of horns out there. But this one caught my eye, and it was on sale. So at under $300, I thought this is a steal. So how does it sound compared to professional horn? All right, so I don't have a curved soprano, not a professional one, but I do have this straight one, so they are in the same key, so it sounds very similar. But this is a professional horn, and let's see what the same piece of music sounds like that I just played on the curved. I choose here, right? Well, being that I've been playing for a long time, I'm definitely going to choose professional horn. But to start out playing on a soprano, if you can start by playing a decent quality soprano saxophone for less than $300, or you have to try to start with a professional horn that costs about $3,000. Now, granted, there are less expensive options. There are intermediate horns and trainer horns that you're gonna pay anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 for. Still, this is gonna be a great bargain if you want to learn how to play, and maybe you don't know if this is really your passion yet. So being able to spend $300 to get a horn that sounds pretty good and plays quite well, I think it's a great bargain. So if you're interested, check the link down below, and I'll put some links to some other things too, like the other mouthpieces and reeds that I like. Stay tuned. I'll be doing more saxophone comparisons of these just inexpensive horns, just so you can see what are you getting into and is it for you. So if you're interested in getting a little curved soprano saxophone to play around, to learn on, wow, this is actually a really good horn. I know I pointed out some things that may deter you from it, but I wanted to be honest with you so that you know exactly what you're getting into when you purchase an instrument like this. I think I'll probably keep this. This is a great little horn. The size is compact. I can take it with me. It's a good little practice horn. And when I'm sitting around at home, I can grab this and practice, not a problem. Will I perform with it? I don't know. We'll see. I think it could perform well with a little more tweaking and playing, but I'm pretty happy with it. If you're interested in this EASTROCK Curved Soprano, you can get it in different colors. Check the links below. You can get it there, and good luck out there. Enjoy it. Stay saxy.